Alright, so this is my Galaxy fan. This is kind of a nostalgic fan for me because of when I was a kid. My grandmother owned a beach house we used to go to every year, and they had these fans in there, and I always wanted one. So I ended up finding one a couple years ago, and it's just been something I've had for forever. It's a 3-speed, and it's not in terrible shape. Right now it's making a lot of noise, so we need to get some lubricant in that sucker. I mean, these fans are kind of die-hard, but you have to really take care of them. So I'm gonna have to disassemble it and take care of that. Now it's still in really good shape. I have all the little pins pretty much that hold the front of the grill on. It's basically all together, so I just need to take it apart and clean it, and then get some lubricant in there so that I can use it, because it's kind of warm in the house. We don't want to cut on the air. Alright, so we got all these little pins loose back there. They just kind of pop like that, and then we should just be able to snap that right off. Alright, now that we got that off, and just have to follow the rotation that's on here. Basically says it right there which way to go, loose and tighten. So now that we're done, we just got to grab this and pop it loose. Damn it. Alright, let me use both hands. Alright, so we got that off. Now we need to take this this little thing off here, and then we should be able to get the back of the fan shroud off. Alright, so now that we got that off, we got 2 bolts here, and there should be a bolt in the back right there. Alright, so the shroud is off. The hardest part is to get this little guy off right there without breaking it. So you have to be really careful because it's got this little lip. Now I need to get some lubricant in here, and I have some silicone spray. We're going to try that, and I actually have some grease here. So we're going to use this all-purpose grease. Grease that sucker up and see how we can do it. Alright, so I sprayed a little bit of this in here, and it seems to be running pretty good now. But, so there's a bearing in the back, and so to get to that, we're going to have to disassemble the whole thing. So you got to take all these bolts out here, there, and then there's a bolt that holds the gearing in place, which we're going to take out. I'll kind of clean all that up anyway. Alright, and then we'll try to kind of pull the motor apart, and then hopefully get enough room where we can get some grease up in that bearing. Alright, so the hardest one to get out is this guy. And you have to remember it's threaded so that it is opposite of the way it turns. So there you go. Got these out all the way around the top, so we're good to go there. So just kind of pry the engine apart, and I can get into there. I know you can't see that. Let me see if I turn on the torch. Yeah, so there's a gear back there. So I have some Q-tips here, and we're going to put some grease in there. See if we can't get that sucker good. Alright. I don't want to pull too much on the electrical part of this because I don't want to. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. So basically I'm just going to dip this down in here and then rub it around in here. Can get that nice and coated. Alright, so we got some in there around that gear that is right there. You can see where I'm pointing. And then in the back here, we got it down in here against that. Then we got to put some in the front here, right up in this area. But I'm gonna try to get. I gotta flip it over to the other side now. So you're gonna need to get all sides of this. Alright, so I put the fan blade back on for a second. So I greased the inner and outer part of the front. We greased the back, and we used this grease. I'm going to get some lithium grease that we can kind of just spray in there, make it easier. It does. Let's go on medium here. Let's see what we got. So we just got it on there just to test it out, see where we're at. Not bad. I decided I'm going to take these 2 bolts out of the top here, try to pop this piece of plastic off and see if we can't get to that gearbox up under that. So there's the back of that fan gearbox. There's some grease in there. We're going to go ahead and get that area right there though, just because, and then we'll see what's up. Alright, so I noticed that it was not oscillating, and so looking in there, there is this piece, and there is a ball bearing inside this, so it actually snaps together. If I can show you, if I pull the top out of that, you can see, let's see if I can get there. Yes, there's a ball bearing on that side, there's not one on this side. So basically the ball bearing is down in there, in that grease, kind of pushed up under that wheel, or up under that mechanism. So I need to get that ball bearing and put it back into this, and then it should oscillate. So I don't know how that ball bearing got out of there, but if we turn it on now, voila, it works. Cool. Let me bolt that back together now. Alright, so we got everything back to where it should be. These wires are back up under this clip. These wires are back in this clip to keep them from working loose. Alright, so we reassembled the whole top here. Got the shrouds back on. Got this on. I just got to put the blade on now. So we're going to put this guy on and then let her run for a little bit. Alright, so we got her reassembled. Should be good to go now. Hit hide there. Good as brand new. How about that? So one thing about these old fans, like, you gotta think this thing was built in the 70s, early 80s, and they're still running because all you need to do is put some little grease into the spots that they need, especially whenever they get the little creaky, and you're good to go. They'll last forever. These things were built to last, unlike the garbage of today that you know, is just throwaway. So yeah, this fan is awesome. You guys take it easy. Peace out.